Alright, so when I was looking through my comment section the other day, I saw one of my dogs hit me saying he wanted a Leaf Green run. And honestly, who the plays Pokemon Leaf Green when Fire Red is clearly the alpha game? So I reluctantly agreed to the challenge. I'm sorry, Bean. But anyways, we were texting back and forth, and eventually we came to a consensus on what Nuzlocke I should run. And oh my god, he just had to say Bug type. Now, as many of you know, Bug type in any generation is the worst typing in any of the Pokemon games. They later buffed the Bug typing with some cool dual typings, but it's just below bar when it compares to the other typings. In this run, we only have 5 encounters in the entire run, and unfortunately, Scyther can't be obtained since he is a Fire Red exclusive, but when I started this run, I did not know that. Knowing the challenge I had ahead, I knew I couldn't let down the Great Bean nor my amazing viewers. So with that being said, let's see if I can beat a Pokemon Leaf Green Bug type Hardcore Nuzlocke with level caps in place, no items except held ones, 1 Pokemon per route, no legendaries or mythicals, and any Pokemon that faints gets permanently boxed. We immediately start our journey by downgrading ourselves in size and then running past our mom in max speed. Goodbye, Mom, I love you. We then head over to Professor Oak's lab where we can acquire our starter. Now, we obviously can't get a bug type here, but I go ahead and choose Bulbasaur to give Bean the Charmander to make this challenge a little bit more spicy. I name him one of the most graceful names to ever be blessed from the heavens above. I name him Bob. We of course had a very easy go around with our first rival fight, really setting a solid omen for the run here. But our next battle with Bob 2, we were able to KO the Charmander with just 1 HP remaining. I absolutely forbid you from going through here. My guy, can I get you a glass of water? Maybe a life alert? We then make it back to Oak's lab after picking up his Uber Eats delivery, and then he gives us a Pokedex. Oh, so all you needed was coffee. I just got Professor Oak Panda Express. You could have said something. We then get this bug show on the road by picking up our first encounter on Route 2, a Caterpie. We catch her and name her Gypsy, and Gypsy has a lonely nature plus attack minus defense, which is just terrible, but not as terrible as what is coming up. I don't know why, but when I went into my PC to transfer Bob, my game just crashed and all I could see was this black screen. So unfortunately, y'all know what that calls for. Attempt 3! Y'all, I cannot even express how angry I was after that reset because it led to 6 more resets, but eventually we made it past Gary. We then make it back to Route 2 where we can catch ourselves another Gypsy, and it looks like my PC is running fine now, and that would have been great if it did that the first time. We then solely train against level 2 Pidgeys for speed EVs, but not only that, at level 7, Gypsy evolves into a majestic Metapod. After that, we then make it to Viridian Forest where we can pick up another encounter, a Weedle that we named Slim. And shortly after, we train her to level 7 as well and evolve her into a Kakuna. We could definitely build a house with how bricked up my party is. After a little bit more training, we evolved Gypsy into a beautiful Butterfree. And after a little bit more grinding, Kakuna evolves into a Beedrill, but everybody knows
that's Big Dick B.
All of this preparation has led us to the first gym leader, Brock, and his rock types. We are clearly at a huge disadvantage with us being crippling weak to rock types, but I think I have a plan to make this work. He starts the battle off with his Geodude as I lead with Gypsy. Fortunately, his Geodude has 0 rock moves, so we can status it with Stun Spore as he stays paralyzed. We just need to get off 5 Hardens to raise our defense to +5, which we do after tanking 2 tackles in the process, but we eventually take it out with 2 more confusions. This is now leading us into his Onix with Rock Tomb. I go ahead and use Stun Spore, and fortunately Onix stays paralyzed. We then slam him with a confusion to half as he lands a Rock Tomb, doing around the same to us and dropping our speed. We then hit him to the red with another confusion and we get the 10% confusion luck. But he breaks through that and paralysis to hit us with Rock Tomb, but we survive on 11 HP. And even with our speed being dropped twice, we are able to outspeed and KO that menace with 1 more confusion, securing us our first gym badge of the run. We then are able to obtain our running shoes from the professor's assistant with the last piece of contact with our mom telling us how to put our Crocs into sports mode. That enables us to make it to Mount Moon where we are able to catch our 3rd encounter of Paris. We catch him and name him Thumper, and my guy has an adamant nature plus attack minus special attack. This is perfect because he is more of a physical attacker anyways, but really bad for his grass typing since all grass moves are special in this game. We then make it to Cerulean City, and before I challenge the gym, I go ahead and have my rival battle with Bean. Now honestly, his team is very equipped to handle ours with a Pidgeotto and a Charmander. But with a lot of good sleep turns and high rolls with our moves, we were able to make it out of that battle without a scratch. My guy, how do you find yourself in this position? Oh wait, actually that makes more sense. Now up next is Misty, the second gym leader, and on the face of it, we look good having some grass coverage on our team, but let's just remember that grass coverage is a Paris. She sends out Staryu as I lead with Gypsy, and on the first turn, she sets up her defense with Harden as I put Staryu to sleep with Sleep Powder. She ends up staying asleep, so we are able to knock that thing to half with a Confusion. Staryu then wakes up and uses Water Pulse, but it does practically nothing, so one more Confusion is enough to KO. Our last Pokemon is her ace, Starmie, and it outspeeds with Water Pulse, hitting me to half as we put it to sleep with Sleep Powder. Starmie stays asleep, and I accidentally misclicked and used Tackle, but fortunately she stays asleep one more turn, so we were able to land a Supersonic. Starmie then of course wakes up and lands a Water Pulse, bringing me to 13 HP and confuses me, and we end up hitting ourselves in Confusion to 5 HP in the red. At this point, I need to switch, so I get Thumper out there as Starmie stays confused. Starmie then stays confused for a second time as we paralyze it with a Stun Spore. We now, for the first time ever, outspeed and hit Starmie with a Bullet Seed that does practically nothing since it only hit twice, and then she breaks out of Confusion to hit us with a Swift to around half. All we need now is a 3-hit with Bullet Seed, and Thumper gets it, securing us our second gym badge of the run. We now make it to the SSN where we can pick up some pretty cool items, but also challenge Bean for the third time. I wish I was joking and saying we took damage from this battle, but for the second time in a row, we did not get dealt any damage at all from this rival fight, which is absolutely insane. No, wait, how did I get here? Goodbye SSN, hate to see you go, but love to watch you leave. Wait, I forgot the TM for Brick Break, no! We then slap the Stolen Dig TM on Thumper, and then immediately evolve him at the level cap into a more mediocre Parasect. This will segue us into fighting the third gym leader, Lieutenant Surge. He sends out Voltorb as I lead with Thumper, and on the first turn we get hit with pitiful damage from Shockwave as we one-hit KO him and Pikachu with a dig. But of course, Pikachu's static ability caused us to get paralyzed in the process. He sends out his last Pokemon, Raichu, and honestly, this is where the battle takes a huge left turn. He goes for a Shockwave, not doing much as we stay paralyzed. He just starts spamming Double Team, and after using Dig, we miss once more. I have no choice but to play chicken with him and to keep using Dig, but by the grace of Arceus, we end up hitting a Dig and bring him into the red. Lieutenant Surge then goes for a Super Potion, why wouldn't he? But it also doesn't bring Raichu into full health, which means that he is still in range for one more Dig. I am telling y'all, when that Shockwave brought me to 16 HP, I thought it was over. But luckily, my boy Thumper does the unthinkable, knocking out a Raichu at +6 evasion while paralyzed with one final Dig. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, just secured us our third gym badge of the run. This will all lead us to Rock Tunnel, and then we will traverse through Celadon City where our gambling addiction may commence. All this gambling will make sense later in the run, but let's take a break and visit the Celadon City gym. Alright, can we talk about how this man is the unspoken Riz god of the Pokemon community? Let's actually not do that, and instead let's fight the fourth gym leader, Erika, and her grass types. She starts the battle off with Victory Bell as I lead with Gypsy. On the first turn, we immediately outspeed and put Victory Bell to sleep with the Sleep Powder. Victory Bell then stays asleep for 2 turns as we bring it into the red with a Confusion and a Gust. Erika then uses a Hyper Potion as we then slam it to half with one Confusion. We then strike it with another Confusion as it stays asleep, so one more Confusion is enough to do that Victory Bell in. Tangela is up next, and we end up putting it to sleep as well, and then we end up knocking it out with a few more Gusts without taking any damage. Our last Pokemon is Vileplume, and so I set up with another Sleep Powder and then immediately hit that thing to half with a Confusion. We then land a critical hit Confusion to finish that thing off for a well-deserved 4th gym badge. Might I also mention we took 0 damage. Compound Eyes Butterfree is so OP. Now that we have beat the gym and gambled our life savings away, we can finally get our next viable encounter, a pincer that we name Hopper. If y'all have played this game before, y'all definitely know this dude right here is going to hold the weight of the team for a while. Because when we enter the rock tunnel for the second time, there is a dude down here that will teach one of your Pokemon Rock Slide, and fortunately, Pinsir can learn it. We finally have a way to deal with flying, fire, and ice types now that we have this move. We then head back to the gambling casino where Team Rocket's underground hideout is, and this is my favorite quote in any Pokemon game. This man right here goes, "Oh no, I dropped the lift key." I swear to God, that is literally how it plays in my head when I read it. We fortunately did not drop the lift key, and we made it to Giovanni where we have to do battle. He leads with Onix as I lob out Hopper, and on the first turn, Onix outspeeds with Rage, but for not much as we knock back with a double power revenge crit for the one-hit KO. Little bit of an overkill there, bud. His next mon is Rhyhorn, and he outspeeds with a Scary Face as we knock it to half with a revenge. He then goes for a Stomp, doing pitiful damage as we finally KO that thing with a double-powered revenge. His last Pokemon is Kangaskhan, and it uses priority Fake Out to bring me to half, and it flinches Thumper. He then goes for a Mega Punch, and thankfully Thumper survives it on 5 HP and then delivers a heavy blow with revenge. I definitely cannot stay in, so I switch into Thumper, and weirdly he goes for Tail Whip. He then goes for Bite. That does nothing since it's a special move in this game, like tell me how that makes sense, but we flinch in the process. We then land a Spore and put him to sleep, but then he gets a first turn Wake Up but just uses Bite again, so we get off our dig attack. He then just uses one more Tail Whip so we can finally KO that Kangaskhan with one more dig. And now that we've beaten Giovanni, this will grant us access to none other than the Silph Scope. This will allow us to see the ghost of the Pokemon Tower, but first we have a battle with Bean. Honestly, his team just keeps getting cooked by mine, and now that we have super effective Rock Slide on our dear beautiful Hopper, we are able to destroy his team with the help of Slim's Twin Needle. I just need to have a moment of silence for my team real quick, because this stupid dead Marowak almost took out my Parasect and Beedrill. That is all I came to say. After freeing Mr. Fuji from Team Rocket and receiving the Pokeflute from him, we can now access Route 13 where we can catch ourselves our last encounter, a Venonat. We catch him and name him Flick, and Flick has a brave nature plus attack minus speed. Bro had one job and it was just to have a good nature. Come on, man. We successfully then got Flick to level 30, and then he evolves into a Venomoth. Now with Koga and Sabrina both having the level caps of 43, I needed to go into Koga's fight a little under level. But that didn't make much of a difference because we went to Mr. Psychic's house to get, well, the TM for Psychic and slap that on Gypsy for the clean sweep of Koga's gym. After that battle with Koga, we head over to Silph Co to pick up the card key to access the whole building, and that will segue us into a battle with our rival, Bean. Bean starts the battle with his Pidgeot as I lead with Hopper. We start the battle by outspeeding with Rock Slide and leaving Pidgeot at a sliver in the red as it knocks us to half with a wing attack. But we were able to retaliate with one more Brick Break to officially knock that thing out. Up next is his deadly Charizard with Flamethrower, but he's not going to be able to use it because he just caught a 4-time super effective Rock Slide to the face for the one-hit KO. He next sends out his Execute, so I switch into Slim that gets immediately paralyzed by his Stun Spore. Absolutely not wanting to get annihilated by one Confusion, I switch into Thumper to tank said Confusion, but for not much. We go ahead and put it to sleep with Spore, and then we use Leech Life on the next turn to bring him to a quarter, but then he wakes up and uses Stun Spore, but he misses, so one more Leech Life is enough to take care of that thing. Up next is his Alakazam, and he outspeeds, but just uses Calm Mind as we put him to sleep with Spore. And after 2 more slashes, we take care of him as well. His last Pokemon is Gyarados, and he outspeeds, but just uses Leer as we put him to sleep with another Spore. After that Intimidate, I'm not going to be doing much damage, so I switch into Gypsy to deliver 4 consecutive Psychics to put that thing out of its misery for the win, baby. Now up next, we have another battle with Giovanni, but now that we have Hopper with Brick Break, I'm not too worried about it. He sends out Nidorino as I lead with Thumper, and on the first turn, he goes for a Horn Attack for not much as we strike back with the Dig to bring him to the red. Nidorino then uses Poison Sting and gets a crit to bring us to half as we finish it off with a Slash, but Nidorino's Poison Point ability activates activates, leaving me poisoned. Up next, this is Rhyhorn, and seeing Thumper's life depleting, I switch into Hopper to tank the incoming stomp, but for not much. We then knock back with a Brick Break to bring him to a quarter as he's doing pitiful damage with Fury attacks, so one more Brick Break KOs that monster. He next brings out Kangaskhan, and we outspeed with another Brick Break to bring him to half as he hits us with a Rage to above half, so one more Brick Break nukes that thing into the dirt. His final Pokemon is Nidoqueen, and seeing how much damage Brick Break does, I go for it, and it practically does nothing, plus we get poisoned, but Nidoqueen just uses Tail Whip. I then switch into Gypsy that gets hit with a Tail Whip on the way in. We then get hit with another Tail Whip, and then we unleash a super effective Sidekick to bring her to half. I don't think that anything this Nidoqueen will hit us with will KO, but since we took so many defensive drops from Tail Whip, I play it safe by switching into Flick to tank one more Tail Whip. Flick then outspeeds, bringing Nidoqueen into the red with a Psybeam as we get hit with Double Kick for awful damage, so one more Psybeam KOs the Queen for the dub. I have to thank you in some way because I am rich. I can give you anything. Say less. We then make it to Sabrina, the Psychic Gym Leader, and we do have the advantage of being bug types, but a lot of her mons are heavy hitters, so let's see how we do. She sends out Kadabra as I lead with Thumper, and on the first turn, she goes for a Future Sight, so a Spore/combo immediately KOs that thing. Up next is her Venomoth, and it outspeeds with a 4x super effective Gust to bring us to half as we hit her with a Slash to under half. We also took a little bit of Future Sight damage, so I definitely need to switch. I get Gypsy out there to tank a Gust, and then I counter by putting her to sleep with a Sleep Powder. I then switch into Hopper on her sleep turn, and then one more Vice Grip is enough to take it out. She then sends out Mr. Mime, and he sets up with a Calm Mind, so we pummel that thing to the red with a Rock Slide. Sabrina, of course, heals up, but we outspeed, so two more Vice Grips sends that thing back to the lobby. Our last Pokemon is Alakazam, and he immediately outspeeds with a Psychic, bringing us to a quarter as we knock back with the Rock Slide, bringing him into the red. Feeling a Hyper Potion coming, I stay in and use Rock Slide once more, bringing Alakazam back into the red. I definitely need to switch, and my only resort here is Gypsy since everything else on my team would just get one shot. So I switch into her, and fortunately Alakazam just goes for a Future Sight. I then get hit with a Psychic to 32 HP in the yellow, but then we counterattack with a Psychic of our own, securing us our 6th gym badge. Now immediately after this, we have to challenge the Cinnabar Island gym, which is all fire types. Clearly this is something my team is crippling weak to, but an idea came to mind on how I might be able to get around all the fire blasts that are coming my way. If y'all watched my last video, we used Sunny Day to reduce the damage from water moves like Kingdra's Hydro Pump. So in this one, we will be using Rain Dance instead, and thank God Butterfree can learn it, and hopefully this will get us all set up to steamroll Blaine's gym. But hopefully this all goes according to plan, cause now it's time to challenge Blaine and his fire types. He sends out Growlithe as I lead with Gypsy, and on the first turn we outspeed and set up the rain with Rain Dance as he knocks us to half with a Fire Blast. We then go ahead and put Growlithe to sleep with Sleep Powder, and then I switch into Hopper, but then Growlithe gets a first turn wake up and immediately hits Hopper to half with a Fire Blast. I am in range of a crit, but I need to stick to the plan, and so I use Bulk Up, increasing my attack a stage, and Growlithe misses his Fire Blast. And after that, Hopper is able to outspeed and one-hit KO everything on the field with super effective Rock Slide. I can't believe we didn't have more trouble with this battle. Nonetheless, we hit every single Rock Slide, but I'll take an easy gym badge where I can get one. 7 badges. Let's get it. After that battle, we then have to say no to Bill to getting on his yacht. Oh, but luckily, we made it through that awful series of events, and we made it to the last gym leader, the head of Team Rocket, Giovanni. He sends out Rhyhorn as I lead with Thumper, and on the first turn, we immediately put that thing to sleep with the Spore. We then go ahead and use Dig to bring him to under half as he wakes up, but just uses Scary Face. Believe it or not, even at -2, I still outspeed, so I put him to sleep with Spore again, and then after that, one more Dig is enough to take him out. His level 50 Rhyhorn is up, and we still outspeed and put him to sleep with Spore, and then switch into Hopper on his sleep turn. I taught Hopper Swords Dance that doubles a Pokemon's attack stat, so we use it twice to get to +4 attack while the Rhyhorn is still snoozing. And after that, Rhydon goes down to a Brick Break, his Doug Trio gets smacked by a Brick Break, and his 2 Nido Queen and King both go down to 1 final Vice Grip, earning us our 8th and final gym badge. We now have our last rival fight with Bean, and now that he has grown in levels, this could get devastating really quickly. He sends out his Pidgeot as I lead with Thumper, and fortunately on the first turn he just goes for Feather Dance as I set up with Spore. I then go ahead and switch into Hopper on the Pidgeot sleeping turn, and then we get a +4 attack with Swords Dance. And after that, Hopper is able to one-hit KO that Tweety Bird with a Rock Slide. Up next is his Rhyhorn, but that Rhyhorn gets absolutely obliterated by 1 Brick Break. That means his Charizard is up next, and we have a 4-time super effective Rock Slide with his name on it. His Execute is up next and manages to survive 1 Vice Grip and then paralyzes us with a Stun Spore. He then starts charging up Solar Beam, and I am praying for my move to land, but nope, we stay paralyzed. Execute then lands the Solar Beam, and it gets a crit, bringing us to above half as we finally take it out with a Vice Grip. Now seeing his Alakazam coming out, I know a Psychic is coming in the near future, and I stay in anyways, and then Hopper survives it on 4 HP and then connects his Vice Grip for the 1-hit KO. His last Pokemon is Gyarados, and we hard switch into Thumper to tank the Twister on the switch, and then after that, Thumper and him just slug it out with Hydro Pump and Slash, but Thumper comes out victorious, giving us the dub over Bean. Now that we have made it to the badge checkpoints and eventually make it through Victory Road deathless, it's time to challenge the Elite Four. But now, we are going to add an extra layer of challenge now that we are creeping to the finish line. Typically, Hardcore Nuzlockers will level up their Pokemon to the 4th Elite Four members level cap. But for this one, I'm just going to level up my Pokemon to the 1st members cap to give us an extra challenge. Up first, we challenge Lorelei, the Ice-type member, and if we don't play this perfectly, she could put a huge hole into our team. She starts the battle with her Dugong as I lead with Hopper. Knowing that she typically uses Safeguard or Hail, I go ahead and set up with Swords Dance as she uses Hail. I then go for Brick Break, and at +2, it is definitely enough to one-hit KO that thing off the map. She next sends in Cloyster, and with this thing's sky-high physical defense, we probably are not going to be able to one-shot this thing. And it looks like my assumptions were right as we leave it in the red with a Brick Break, but then she just sets up with Spikes. Lorelei then goes for a Full Restore, and I go ahead and set up to +4 with Swords Dance to edge out the KO with 1 more Brick Break. Up next is her Slowbro, so I go ahead and knock it to a quarter with a Rock Slide as she just sets up with Amnesia, so 1 more Vice Grip takes that thing out as well. Her Lapras then gets KO'd by a +4 Brick Break, and her Jinx stood no chance, taking a Rock Slide straight to the face, earning us our first Elite Four dub. Up next is Bruno, and my guy has a very stacked team, so we still gotta play this really safe. He starts the battle with Onix as I lead with Thumper, and on the first turn, he misses an Iron Tail, so we're able to put him to sleep with Spore. I then switch into Hopper as Onix is still asleep, so for the next 2 turns, I set up with Swords Dance as he continues to snooze. Onix then wakes up, hitting me with a Rock Tomb, knocking me for a little chip and lowering my speed, but on the next turn, we smash that thing with a +4 Brick Break, turning him into rubble. Up next is Hitmonchan, but even at -1 speed, we still outspeed and KO that thing with 1 Brick Break. Alrighty. His Machamp is next, and we get an insanely low roll on Brick Break to bring him to a sliver in the red, and then he knocks back with a Rock Tomb to below half, dropping our speed. Feeling a Full Restore coming, I switch into Flick to get him in there safely. I then go for a Psychic, and it looks like it's going to be a 3-hit KO, but then I see him bulk up. This is not good. I fortunately put him to sleep with Sleep Powder, and then we are able to take him out with a Gust Psychic combo. His second to last Pokemon is Hitmonlee, and we outspeed, hitting him to over half with the Psychic as he does around the same, slamming us with a Mega Kick. But then we are able to get the KO with 1 more Psychic. His last Pokemon is his second Onix, but we are able to destroy that thing with a 4-time super effective Giga Drain, earning us our 2nd dub over the Elite 4. Next up is Agatha, and she starts with her Gengar as I lead with Hopper. Fortunately, she just kept going for double team, so I was able to use Swords Dance twice. After that, it was a Rock Slide Earthquake combo that annihilated every single member on her team. Not even her second Gengar was able to do much damage with Sludge Bomb, so that is Agatha conquered. Now up next is Lance, and y'all know from my Fire type run, he is a monster with 3 flying types on his team, one of them being a flying and rock type Pokemon. I seriously had to brainstorm this team like crazy, but now it is time to challenge Lance and his dragon types. He starts the battle with Gyarados as I lead with Gypsy. On the first turn, I go ahead and outspeed with Sleep Powder to put that thing to sleep, then I hard switch into Hopper. But of course, Gyarados gets a first turn wake up and then hits me to over half with the Dragon Rage. I need to switch, so I get Gypsy back out there to tank the Dragon Rage and then put Gyarados back to sleep with the Sleep Powder. We then switch back into Hopper on his sleeping turn, and then he stays asleep long enough to set up to +6 with Swords Dance. But on the third Swords Dance, he wakes up to hit us with a Dragon Rage to below half, but my Citrus Berry activates, getting us back to above half. And after that, a +6 Rock Slide is enough to destroy that thing for the one-hit KO. His Aerodactyl is up next, and we just need to survive one Ancient Power, and we do on 29 HP, and then fire back with a Brick Break to knock that thing out. After that, his Dragonite gets KO'd by a Rock Slide, and then his 2 Dragonairs go down to 2 final Earthquakes. This leads us to defeating Lance and completing the Elite 4 challenge. This is it. We made it to the champion of the Kanto League. Our trials and tribulations have led us to this moment, so let us do battle with the champion, Bean. He sends out his Pidgeot as I lead with Gypsy. On the first turn, he immediately outspeeds with an Aerial Ace. I seriously thought he got a crit, as we luckily survive on 42 HP and then put him to sleep with Sleep Powder. We then switch into Hopper, and we are fortunately able to get a +4 attack stat boost with Swords Dance. This means we are able to KO Pidgeot with Rock Slide, his Rhydon with Earthquake, and his Charizard gets pummeled to the ground with one more Rock Slide. Now his Alakazam is up next and weirdly sets up with Reflect, boosting his team's defense as I one-hit KO him with Earthquake. Now, I really wasn't worried about Alakazam getting that defensive boost. I was worried about this bulky boy right here, Executor, getting that boost. I go ahead and set up to +6 with Swords Dance as he puts me to sleep with Sleep Powder, giving me a taste of my own medicine. We of course stay asleep as he hits us with an Egg Bomb doing around 1/4 damage. Hopper then wakes up out of nowhere and then lands a Rock Slide and Executor flinches. Let's go. We then use an Earthquake to bring him into the red as he puts us back to sleep with Sleep Powder, but then the Reflect timed out. All we need is to wake up, but Bean ends up full restoring as we are still snoozing. Hopper stays asleep once more and then gets hit with an Egg Bomb down to 66 HP. This all really wasn't looking good until Executor missed his Egg Bomb. We then somehow wake up and then hit Executor in the face with a Brick Break as he knocks us to 25 HP in the red with Egg Bomb. And after that, one more Earthquake finally takes that thing out. His last Pokemon is Gyarados, and we are able to outspeed and hit it with a +6 super effective Rock Slide to earn us the win over the whole Nuzlocke challenge. We did it. We just beat our first ever Hardcore Nuzlocke challenge, and we did it deathless. Honestly, with how reckless I do these Nuzlockes, I cannot believe we achieved something even remotely close to this. I just want to take a second and thank everybody who supports these videos and who have made it up until this point. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, and if you want to see more painful content like this, drop a sub. I love all of my viewers, so if you want a specific run done like Bean, comment down below. But this, my friends, was a Pokemon Leaf Green Deathless Bug-type Hardcore Nuzlocke, and I hope to see you in my next run.